Here are 15 online reviews of the audiobook titled, The Millionaire Next Door. Written by Thomas J. Stanley and William D. Danko. Narrated by Cotter Smith. 1. Outdated, repetitive and generally not helpful. I found this book to be outdated, repetitive and generally not helpful. It describes the buying and lifestyle habits of people who were millionaires in the 90s. Core message is be frugal, and prioritize saving and investing over consumption, which is already very obvious to most. Author spends entirely too much time talking about the car buying habits of the wealthy. Book should be titled, How to Sell Things to Rich People, because it reads like a data-heavy marketing research paper. Not helpful. Do not recommend. 2. Same point over and over. Very simple takeaway point, don't spend money and someday you may be wealthy. I was hoping for something a little more realistic in the way that we live in such an expensive culture. This book is only the findings of research into millionaires that you would not know that they were that wealthy. It depicts how frugal they are and really turned me off from living my life the way that these case studies do. It doesn't explain how these people got to these wealthy points but explains some very elementary wealth management ideas. 3. Insightful but not very useful. This book was interesting and has some useful info in the last few chapters but seems to be geared towards people who are already millionaires. Not for everyday people like myself who are trying to figure out their financial future. I didn't learn any real useful info on how to set myself up for success. It's full of stories about people who did or did not make good choices but no real guidance on what makes good or bad choices. 4. Millionaire Lifestyle Secrets Revealed. This book illustrates who exactly comprises America's millionaires and the lifestyle that they actually live. Their lifestyles revealed in the audiobook are not much different than the middle class, except of course with the absence of high household debts. I enjoy that most millionaires choose not to flaunt their wealth, which is vital since American society is now favoring socialism, where many people have contempt and envy of the rich and successful. The audiobook also tells how America's millionaires obtain their wealth statistically. This book can be used as a guide to help aid in an individual becoming a millionaire his or herself, while remaining under the radar. 5. Inspiring. This book should be an inspiration to all. This book teaches you to check yourself before assuming and placing judgment on others. I learned a substantial amount of information about the expectations we put on ourselves and others. Plus, the simple yet organized ways we as middle-class people can become millionaires. I will be listening to this book again to gather even more insight on money and what it means to me. 6. Very good and informative book. This book is along the lines of Dave Ramsey teachings on money and wealth. It's very informative and all the information in it is supported by research. Definitely an eye-opener and educational in many aspects of the money management and finance. It was easy to listen to, the narrative was good and easy to follow. Definitely recommend to everyone. I'm sure there's something new to learn for everyone, even if you don't find all the topic relevant to your personal situation. 7. Not helpful. This book is about living frugal and saving to become rich. Let me ask you. When you become a millionaire and then die with all that money in your bank, how much of it is coming with you to heaven? I understand the general principle and overspending is not healthy. But I work to enjoy my money and spend it, not to save it and watch it accumulate slowly over years. Make tons of money, save some, and spend most in whatever car and house you want to have. You can still become wealthy. I have. 8. I died from boredom. This review is being written post-mortem because halfway through this audiobook I hung myself from sheer unadulterated boredom. At least 3 hours of this book was spent on the minutiae of car purchasing. And another 3 on millionaire gift giving to their children. 9. Mediocre at best. There was some interesting information in the book, but it was not at all what I was expecting. That is my fault for not reading more reviews and summaries before purchasing. This book comes highly recommended from many financial authors and experts, which is why I purchased it. I guess I must be missing something. If you love statistics and research data, then this is the book for you. Because that's basically all it is. It's very repetitive, long, and boring. The overall theme that they repeat throughout the book is, be frugal, and invest. Common sense advice, but they don't go into any detail about what these millionaires invested in, or what their process was to get there. It would have been much more interesting if they picked a handful of the interview subjects and detailed their journey to financial freedom. I learned a couple of new things, which is what I aim for in any book that I read or listen to, but overall this book was mediocre at best. 10. Worth the read. I think this is absolutely worth a read, but it feels like the book tapered off into a whole different book subject towards the final chapters. Instead of focusing on the millionaire characteristics themselves, the book diverted into talking about the children of millionaires and non-millionaires, which felt like it could have been an entirely different book altogether rather than taking up so much of this one. 11. Pretty good. The point it's making is really interesting and goes in detail on the differences between thought patterns and mindsets of wealthy people and poor people. I like that it changes your perspective on what a rich person looks like as opposed to what society thinks a rich person looks like. My main criticism is that the book definitely could have been shorter and would have made the point just the same with a little less examples and details. Glad I read it though, it definitely changed my perspective on handling money and I'm gonna use this to improve my financial habits. 12. Eye-opening. I found the content enlightening and informative. At times it comes off dated, but when I look into the sequel it seems that the consensus is that the principles/lifestyles of millionaires are pretty much the same. I wish that the stats stated in the book were readily available to read through on a website or something. I did a bit of research and could find it. There were some statistics I would have liked to dig into further, and it sometimes felt that the audiobook wasn't best medium to take in the calculations. I would recommend this book to anyone that has a proclivity for analytics and would like to further understand the mindset of the wealth in America. 13. Great content, becomes redundant. I really appreciated the content of this book to begin with. Learning the lessons, hearing the anecdotes and understanding morals I'm spending were very valuable lessons. However, once they express it they went on and on in a way that could have been abridged drastically, and I believe they could have used more powerful anecdotes rather than repeating the same lessons continuously throughout the book. This was voice to text, sorry for typos. 14. Repetitive/conflicting in some spots, boastful in others. I started out enjoying this book but ended up zoning out during the parts where the author droned on about not selling/being in a hurry to sell the immaculately kept car. Did it ever get sold? Sometimes you have to weigh the effort involved to sell something and just compromise with the seller. The author had his acceptable range but was, essentially, wasting everyone's time. There is a lot of conflicting information throughout the book as well. I said, "What?" more than once while listening to it. 15. A long research paper on the wealthy. For those seeking the secrets to wealth, live well under your means, buy a used car, teach your kids the importance of money from an early age, then set them free to be independent with their own money, be frugal where possible, buy something because you need it, not for status. Also, Rolex are for assholes. Only negative part in my opinion is that it reads like a long research paper. Maybe because I work in advertising, but I always think that no matter what you're writing, you can try to tell a story or at least write with a human perspective. This was a long, neutral Wikipedia page. It wasn't boring, the research interesting, but it lacked any kind of emotion. Thank you for watching. Please, do not forget to subscribe, like and share this video. Tune in for more online audiobooks reviews.